We are living in a war, yes, a war between these two, the Democratic and political parties, which I'm sure you all know about. One of the main, our country is currently facing a crisis where they can't seem to come to an agreement, which might not be a surprise to all of you, but what we currently face is not just a simple difference of ideas. No, it has come to a point where we have to choose between their extreme values. And that's not what they were created for. They should be representing us. It should not be us following them. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not an expert when it comes to the government system, hence why I chose to be a civil engineer and not worry about those headaches. But what is happening here is that our democracy is going through some problems, and it is important for us to know what we can do to protect it. And because of that, I decided to do some research and find out what is happening here. So I will be explaining to you the issue between the two party systems, the possibility of having a third party, and the consequences of having that third party. In this ongoing war that is especially noticeable every 4 years during our elections, we always have to choose between the Democrats or the Republicans. And that's absurd because they were not created for that reason. On the 2014, the article Solution for the Party Political System says they were designed to give a large portion of the population with the same opinion a voice to be heard in the representative democracy. And that is not what they are currently doing. In the article Americans' Two-Party System, Friend or Foe by Doolin, he mentions that framers of the Constitution created a government system that was meant for a two-party system, which may be true as it is extremely difficult for a third party to come to the same level of these two main parties. The framers were probably thinking of protecting our democracy. But unfortunately, that is not what is happening right now. In Frontier's 2015 article, Polarize and Fracture U.S. Political Parties and the Challenges of Governing, he mentions that there is an issue that has developed in our two-party system, and that is that they are highly polarized, as he says. They just can't seem to see eye to eye on any issue. This is especially noticeable in the growth of independent voters, as it is shown in this graph from John's 2016 Democratic-Republican identification near historical lows. We can see that the independent voters has increased significantly. Also, on this pie chart from Pew Research Center, they show that almost half of the voters are identifying themselves as independent voters. So we can see that there's some drastic changes among the voters and choosing their Democratic or Republican parties. In the beginning of the 20th century, the parties did have different ways of thinking, but they were always able to compromise and come to an agreement. But now they just seem to not be able to agree on anything. The democracy created in this country was to protect the interests of the people. And the 2011 article, Re-Examine Democracy by Macon, says that democracy is but a byproduct of liberty. And this is what the U.S. Declaration of Independence means when it mentions that the government derives its power from the governed, from the consent of the governed. Where exactly is this just power when it seems like the government are being controlled when they're not given many options to choose from? This issue needs to be addressed. The parties need to go back to the beginning of the 20th century, where they were able to rationally analyze the options they had and were able to compromise among those options. One of the ways this can be done is by introducing a third party. In Collett's article, The Polls Trends, Third Parties in the Two-Party System, he noticed that from the emergence of the Reform Party, people did actually want a third party, yet the third parties face a lot of difficulties. Take the case of the Asian American Political Party. In Kim's 2016 article, The Racial Logic of Politics, Asian Americans in Party Competition, this third party rose into popularity, but was later brought down as the other two parties made them seem as a threat to the country. But it is still possible for a third party to rise and to grow into popularity and pose a challenge for the two-party system, as mentioned in Guillermo's 2016 article, A Spanish Yes We Can Against a Two-Party System, the Development of Political Party Podemos, where a third party emerged in Spain's two-party system. They were able to gain popularity and possess the same amount of influence among the people that rivaled that of the two original parties that were already there. So it is possible, but it's still difficult for a third party to rise. If we can get a third party to be able to create a midfield where their policies and ideas are a combination of both Republicans and Democrats, we will be able to make them notice that they are losing support. With this, I predict that they will do two things. The first is that they will unite forces and bring that third party down. And the second, with enough support, the third party can help them realize that they need to focus on what the people need and less on how they are right. Charles' 2013 TED Talk, he says that in order to get a third party to gain popularity and into the debate stage, the third party needs to get a 50% of the polls vote. He continues to mention that the polls words the questions differently from what they actually mean. On one of them, they ask who you would be voting for. But in reality, what this question means is who would you like to see in the debate? Of course, getting a third party into the debate doesn't make it easy for them to stay there and win. What this would do is that it would create a third option that can end up creating a midfield between them. The whole purpose of getting a third party to rise into popularity would be to make the current parties realize that they need to focus more on the people instead of each other. If we do not do something about this war, then who will? I mean, the parties seem to be pretty happy with the power they have in getting nothing done. What we should do for the next election that comes around is three things. The first, I ask you to have some knowledge of the policies and candidates that are in the ballots. The second, I want you to think clearly and rationally of what or who you're voting for. I want you to think on your own and choose something because you really believe that's right. The last one, I want you to vote for a third party candidate that you resemble with the most. This will help the current parties realize that they need to focus on the needs of the people. And this is the start to end the war. Thank you.